The world is divided into two races, humans and demons. For a time, they coexisted in relative peace. But then, humans discovered a mysterious spirit ore, forging it into artifacts that granted them immense power. A human commander gives the order to her 4th Battalion, and they activate their weapons without hesitation. They burned and plundered, seizing the demon lands. But fate, it seems, had other plans. A young demon steps forward, telling his elders to stand back. As he channels immense energy into his weapon, the red energy crackles and coils around his blade, a weapon humming with devastating power. With a single swing, he unleashes it all. A wave of pure destruction carves through the battlefield. The human commander receives the news, her face frozen in disbelief. She and her subordinate can only watch from afar. As a single attack decimates their forces, an explosion that shakes the very foundations of their world. A desperate call goes out. He's stronger than ever. And he's heading straight for the human capital, a fading memory of the enemy's boastful cries. But now, the one who answered that challenge stands in stunned silence. He's returned to a hero's welcome, the entire capital chanting his name, Lin Potian. His young disciple, Mu Kuo, explains that all the noble families have come to see him. Even his parents are being celebrated by the adoring crowds. Lin, however, is less than thrilled by the sudden attention. His fiancée, Dan Yunduo, reminds him of the noble's fickle nature, as clan leaders try to buy his favor with extravagant gifts and titles. He tries to refuse, saying their sincerity is all that matters, a sentiment that some members of the crowd are all too eager to provide. Some are offering more than just sincerity. But the commotion is cut short by a royal announcement. The Grand Princess herself has come to greet him. She extends an invitation from the Emperor himself. But Lin respectfully declines the offer. His sense of duty doesn't seem to surprise her. As she leaves, the crowd begins to whisper once more. And in the midst of the gossip, a sudden mishap. One of the onlookers loses her balance and falls directly towards our unsuspecting hero. He catches her with surprising ease, his only concern being for her safety. The woman insists she's fine, but the damage is already done. The crowd, of course, draws the most logical conclusion. Her father immediately sees this as a path to glory for their clan. A mad dash begins as everyone tries to fit the new type. The clans race to present their offerings, while Lin's family watches the madness unfold. The incident quickly becomes a citywide legend, immortalized in the morning paper. With the chaos finally over, his parents are just relieved to go home. As night falls, a quiet peace finally settles over the land. The city erupts in celebration, praising their new hero. The streets come alive with a festival of lights and joy. As fireworks paint the night sky above the capital, Lin's young disciple Mu Kuo heads off to see the lion dance, while other young demons make their own plans for the evening. The traditional performance captivates an eager crowd. At a nearby shrine, demons give thanks for their freedom. Parades and fireworks continue to light up the capital, but amidst the joyous crowd, Lin Potian walks alone, wondering if this is the peak for both him and his people. He reflects on the war, certain the humans have no path to victory. With one more push, he believes he can shatter their capital. All of this, for the family that once struggled just to survive. A memory surfaces of a hand reaching out, calling his name. He remembers leaving his humble home, his parents watching him go. He'd told them they wouldn't have to worry anymore. A tearful goodbye from a boy determined to change their fate. His parents could only beg him to be safe on the front lines. Back in the present, he clutches the simple gifts from the people and heads home, satisfied with the life he's built for them. He pushes open the door to his home, but what he finds inside stops him cold. His mother, bound and broken, her last words a warning. He sees them both, his parents, hanging in the ruins of their home. His father can only urge him to flee, but it's too late. The trap has been sprung. Lin Potian can only watch in horror as the bodies of his fallen kinsmen erupt all around him. He realizes the corpses were laced with a deadly poison, and now that same poison surges through his veins. The architect of this nightmare reveals herself with a gleeful cry, a cocktail of 300 poisons all designed just for him. This is Xiaorui, humanity's greatest poisoner. She looks up at his home, confident her trap was enough. The bodies of his people were nothing more than vessels for her poison. But she wasn't the only one behind this ambush. The Demon Sealing King Wang Feng gives the order to strike. His hidden forces take aim with spirit ore cannons, unleashing a devastating volley of energy, catching the already poisoned Lin Potian completely off guard. The spirit ore cannons fire in unison, a blast of energy tearing through his arm. Lin Potian is thrown back by the force of the attack. The soldiers note that the poison has weakened him greatly, urging each other to press the attack while they can. But even poisoned and maimed, Lin Potian launches himself high into the air. The Demon Sealing King watches, his trap not yet fully sprung. A cage of brilliant green light materializes around our hero, revealing the Sky Lantern Demon Suppression Vault. The soldiers reveal that Xia Rui gathered every binding artifact she could find, and now they all coil around Lin Potian, holding him fast. More troops fire their own energy tethers, reinforcing the prison, but the look in his eyes is one of pure, unbridled fury. He unleashes a shockwave of power, but the cage holds firm. The soldiers below are ordered to finish him off quickly. A hand reaches down from above, glowing with an ominous power. As the energy ropes drag him down into the earth, he tries to push back, to break free with his remaining strength. But he realizes another ambush was waiting for him below. Another artifact activates, the Heaven and Earth Cloth. Xiaorui screams for her close combat battalion to attack. They waste no time driving their weapons into his flesh. The soldiers swarm him, determined to end his life. But even bound and bleeding, Lin Podian isn't finished yet. He channels his remaining power into one final desperate gambit, unleashing a technique that scatters his essence like 100 birds. The soldiers recognize it as a high-level demon escape art. Each fragment of light is a desperate bid for survival. They realize with horror that he's already adapting to the poison. One of the golden birds streaks through the sky, only to be ensnared by yet another one of Xiaorui's traps. As the decoys are caught, the real Lin Podian plummets to the ground. He lands hard, his body reverted to that of a child. But he's alive, and for a moment, that's all that matters. A moment that's cut short by Xiaorui asking where he's off to. With no other choice, our boy turns and flees. Meanwhile, his disciple Mu Kuo sounds the alarm. He screams for reinforcements, telling everyone their hero has been ambushed. And then we cut to a strange girl with an even stranger greeting. The scene shifts to a memory of another fallen demon. A pink-haired woman stands over his body, asking for any last words. The defeated demon insists he never harmed civilians. He speaks of his family, his parents, and his wife, a plea that the woman admits she wasn't actually prepared to hear. His only wish is for her to spare those who still live. But she coldly admits she was the one who ordered their extermination. His sudden rise to power, she explains, was too great a threat. She considers his entire bloodline a danger to humanity, and for that reason his family must be wiped out. As reports begin to flood in for Dr. Shirui, a soldier confirms that Lin Potian's entire paternal lineage has been captured, while another squad reports his maternal family is also under their control. Even his fiancée, Dan Yunduo, has been taken, her last words a desperate plea for him to run. With a chilling smile, Xiaorui gives the final order. Her soldiers carry out the brutal command without hesitation. They open fire on the captured families, a scene of utter devastation unfolding in the night. The air is filled with cries of anguish. With the grim task complete, Xiaorui dismisses the soldiers, her work here done. The dying demon's consciousness begins to fade. He offers a final, silent apology to his king, a memory of a promise made, a future of peace now lost. He laments his failure to protect his family, and his thoughts turn to the woman he loved, remembering a promise of marriage from their childhood. But the memory fades to the cold reality of her hand in his, her body lying among the fallen, a final, heartbreaking image. As his vision blurs and the world slips away, his last thought is a quiet hope for reincarnation, a vision of his killer, Xiaorui, in another life. Her final vow to erase his entire bloodline. But Lin Potian awakens in a strange, ethereal realm. Adrift on a river of souls, he asks where he is. A mysterious figure tells him this is the path to the next life. He reveals himself as King Yama, ruler of the underworld. Lin Potian is stunned to find the deity is real. He questions if this is truly the road to reincarnation. King Yama explains the process of rebirth. But the wait is 500 years, a sentence Lin Potian refuses to accept. King Yama explains that due to his impressive life, Lin Potian gets VIP treatment. He's offered a chance to allocate points for his next life. These points can boost anything from intelligence to wealth or even his love life. Most souls, even the best of them, only get a handful of points to spend. But Lin Potian, as it turns out, is a very special case. He's racked up over 1,000 points, but he only screams for one thing: time. He slams his hand down on the time attribute. As other souls drift peacefully toward their next life, Lin Potian declares he'll earn everything else back through sheer will, and pours every last point he has into shortening his wait. The points pour into the river of souls, transforming his simple vessel as the years melt away. He keeps hammering the time attribute, refusing to stop for even a moment. The other souls can only watch in stunned silence. As his boat evolves, speeding past them all, he screams that he doesn't care if he's born mediocre, because his will alone will be enough to claim his revenge. But elsewhere, a woman with familiar pink hair goes into labor. Back in the underworld, Lin Potian's journey accelerates. He's whittled 500 years down to a mere 27 hours. While in the living world, a birth is happening in a desperate rush. Lin Potian's eyes burn with a singular, vengeful focus. As his vessel rockets toward the end of the River of Souls, he crosses the threshold between death and life, arriving at the very shore of his own rebirth. His gaze is fixed, his will completely unbroken. The light of a new world begins to envelop him, as his old existence fades completely away. And in the mortal realm, a baby is born with his eyes wide open. A doctor announces the birth of a healthy baby boy. Lin Potian, now an infant, wonders if this is his new life. He's passed to his new mother, desperate to know what he's become. But as he looks up at her face, a horrifying realization dawns on him. His new mother is none other than Xiaorui, the woman who destroyed his life. Well, this is going to make for some awkward family dinners. But before he can process this cruel twist of fate, a familiar voice calls his name. King Yama appears, confirming his reincarnation is complete. And with that, he prepares to wipe away Lin Potian's memories of his past life. Sharui, in a state of exhausted joy, holds her newborn son. King Yama explains that the boy's new mother can't see him. He reaches out with a glowing finger. Preparing to wipe the slate clean, a sudden burst of light fills the room as he begins to pull the memories from Lin Potian's mind. A lifetime of love, war, and betrayal is extracted, every moment of his tragic past, right up to the end. But just as the process is about to complete, a tiny hand grabs his staff, and with a will of iron refuses to let go. King Yama insists that erasing memories is standard procedure for reincarnation. He demands that the infant let go of his staff, but Lin Potian refuses, much to the god's annoyance. The scene then shifts to the northwestern demon territory, where a powerful figure lets out a furious roar. He's one of humanity's 12 calamity stars, a warrior known as Rock Heavy. He sheds his rocky armor, preparing to unleash a devastating attack, using a gravity artifact to gather a massive chunk of earth. He ignites it, sending it plummeting towards the city below, a technique he calls primordial starfall, meant to wipe out the entire demon population. But as fate would have it, a newly enlisted Lin Potian was stationed there. He summons a massive heavenly dragon guard, stopping the fiery meteor in midair. This began a long history of clashes between Lin Potian and humanity's 12 calamity stars. Like the great tsunami, Ling Qiankyo, who brought the ocean's wrath upon his people. But even in the face of overwhelming panic, Lin Potian stood his ground, channeling his power to meet the impossible threat. The calamity stars were formidable, their artifacts specifically designed to counter demons. So Lin Potian could only seal them away, trapping the great tsunami in ice. And then came another, the great earthquake master, Shi Hangchan. A man he sealed deep within the earth in April of 3760. Then there was the active volcano, Tian Tai Sui, sealed just a month later. And the man-eating swamp, Yao Yao Yao, taken care of the following year. He even managed to contain the deadly plague Bianzu. The list goes on, the guy clearly never took a vacation. But just minutes before Lin Potian's death, the Great Seal began to fail. The demon power that held these calamities in check lost its master and scattered into the world. Deep within her frozen prison, the great tsunami's eyes snap open as the ice cracks. With a surge of power, she shatters her confinement, finally free. And across the land, other ancient evils begin to stir once more. The man-eating swamp Yao 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 awakens in a dark forest. The great earthquake master shatters his earthly prison. And with that, all 12 calamity stars were free once more. King Yama tells the infant he was lucky to have escaped. But the god is determined to finish his task, unleashing his power to reclaim the memories. But something is resisting his divine authority, which has to be a first. The infant hero clings to the staff with all his might, refusing to let go of his past. The god realizes he'd forgotten a crucial detail. Lin Potian still has half his power. The god explains that power was meant to guard the calamity stars. He taunts Lin Potian, saying his infant body can't handle the strain, and that he'll burn himself out before the memories are fully extracted. As the last vestiges of his past life are pulled away, the god demands he accept his fate, his memories now forfeit for divine research. But Lin Potian's eyes burn with pure defiance. He unleashes a torrent of raw, untamed power, a blast that rips through the ethereal space. A single thought echoes through the chaos. He will never accept his fate. He addresses the god directly, acknowledging his absolute control over the underworld. He reminds the god that even higher powers have their own defined roles, and that King Yama has no right to interfere in the mortal realm. So he'll scatter his demon cores across the entire world, believing that when he's older, his memories will guide him to reclaim them. He refuses to believe this cruel twist of fate is a mere coincidence, and vows that one day he'll settle the score with King Yama too. With a final defiant roar, he unleashes his remaining power, sending fragments of his soul soaring out into the world. King Yama can only watch as the infant's will defies his own. And elsewhere, the world continues to turn, unaware of the power just unleashed. A young man cries out in sheer terror, writing desperately as he calls for his brother. Elsewhere, a demon official breaks into a fit of mad laughter, declaring himself the new top power minister of the demon race. That night, Lin Potian's demon cores streaked across the sky like meteors. The rainbow lights that once surrounded their hero now scattered in every direction. The people could only stand frozen, watching the lights fall, as the horrifying reality of what this meant began to sink in. His young disciple, Mukuo, can only scream for his fallen teacher, and across the world, the fragments of a hero's power crash down to earth. King Yama reveals his true, terrifying form, a form that even the infant Lin Potian finds incredible. But the awe quickly fades into a quiet sorrow. As his consciousness weakens, his past life begins to blur. The world around him starts to lose its focus. He sees his new mother, Shiarui, struggling to her feet. She crawls towards him with a desperate look in her eyes, a look that slowly turns into a triumphant smile. He can barely recognize the face of his sworn enemy anymore, but he makes one last vow to find his power and memories again. His new mother holds him close, a chilling smile on her face. Back at the ambush site, the remaining soldiers are in disarray, as Mu Kuo screams in pure rage, demanding his master back. He unleashes his fury on the surrounding troops, who can only urge Shirui to escape the boy's wrath. He summons a powerful whip-like technique to punish them all, leaving a field of fallen soldiers in his wake. A young boy watches the chaos, calling out Mu Kuo's name. But Mu Kuo is lost in his grief, directing his attack forward. The other boy cries out that he's used all his points and can't be reborn. The young disciple lets out a final, desperate cry. His attack strikes Xiaorui, who curses the infant in her arms. But in his rage, he's forgotten who she's holding. The thorny whip recoils, wrapping around his own leg, and the realization of his mistake hits him hard. He remembers his master's words from long ago. A promise to never become like the humans he fought. A promise he's just broken in his grief-fueled rage. As the infant Lin Potian cries out, caught in the crossfire. Xiaorui, however, sees this as an opportunity, activating a talisman. The talisman teleports her away just as Mu Kuo's attack lands. His thorny whip smashes into the empty ground, and he can only stare in shock, realizing he missed. Now he's left all alone in the desolate wasteland. The young disciple collapses, his last hope gone. He weeps for his master as news of the ambush spreads like wildfire. Without their hero, the demon race immediately sues for peace. But the humans, sensing weakness, launch a full-scale invasion instead. Thankfully, Lin Potian had one last contingency plan in place. He'd poured his power into the Heavenly Dragon Guard, a final gift to his people. A final gift that now awakens with a mighty roar. Deep beneath the demon capital, the earth begins to stir. The entire city trembles as the ground gives way. The Heavenly Dragon Guard rises from the depths, sending the citizens fleeing in a panic. It carves the city from the very bedrock of the world, lifting the entire landmass high into the night sky. A colossal serpent carrying a city on its back, an ark built to ferry his people to safety. As it ascends, leaving their broken world behind, the colossal beast rumbles as it climbs into the sky, watched by the creatures of the world below. Water cascades from its body as it rises above the ocean, a guardian spirit born from a hero's final will. Following Lin Potian's last command, it carried the 4 largest demon cities and drifted high above the central continent, giving the demon race a brief, desperate chance to catch their breath. And so, the great counterattack led by their hero ended in failure. A new, uncertain chapter in the war between humans and demons had begun. Meanwhile, our reincarnated hero as well, he's just really, really cute. His new mother, Xiaorui, is completely smitten with her baby boy. She reaches out and he instinctively grabs her finger. She remembers the moment with a fond smile, and the vow she made to protect him while simultaneously torturing other living beings. The scene shifts to a snowy night, years in the past. A much younger Xiaorui makes her way through the blizzard alone. She clutches a strange potion, wondering about the sudden storm. With all the staff gone for the new year, she's been left to fend for herself. But a small voice cuts through the wind, calling for its mother. And a little girl runs towards her, a daughter she'd had long before Lin Potian. A younger Xiaorui scolds the child for coming out in the blizzard. The little girl just looks up at her, her breath fogging in the cold. But then she offers a small, glowing jar, a simple gift held tightly in her hands. She explains it's a warm drink just for her mother. Xiaorui is taken aback, confused by the gesture. The girl apologizes, thinking she'd made her mother happy. A man in the background explains the child's dedication. The many trips back and forth to keep the drink warm, and Xiaorui's stern facade finally breaks into a joyful laugh. She asks her daughter why she came all this way in the snow. The girl just smiles, holding the warm gift she brought for her mother. As they walk home, the child asks about her work, and Xiaorui's answer is simple. She hates demons. The memories continue, of a daughter who idolized her mother's work in the lab, of simple moments, like sharing a meal together, and a childish promise to marry her, met with a rather unhinged laugh. An attendant can only look on, calling them both insane. The memories shift to a happier time, a day at an amusement park. Xiaorui and her daughter ride the Ferris wheel, their laughter filling the air. But their joy is powered by the suffering of a chained demon below. An attendant yells at the demon, demanding a stronger stream of water, all for the sake of a mother-daughter water ride. Their next stop is a haunted house, where the daughter asks if the ghosts are real. Xiaorui explains that the actors are demon slaves she paid a fortune for. She reassures the children that demons can't feel pain. It's all just an act. The day continues with roller coasters and carefree fun. A day filled with laughter and breaking all the rules, until they're both completely tuckered out from the excitement. But the memories of their simple, happy moments continue. Even a faceplant on the playground is met with applause. The memories continue of a mother and her young son. Years pass, and they sit together watching the evening news. A report details a sudden coup within the demon race, led by a minister who has now imprisoned the royal family. Commentators predict his next move will be to purge Lin Potian's former subordinates. They lament the fall of what was once the demon's greatest faction. Xiaorui casually compares it to the slaughter of Lin Potian's family. She feigns sympathy while laughing, a lesson in truly terrible parenting. The memory fades as the older Xiaorui sleeps soundly, but for the young Lin Potian, the past is a waking nightmare. A special meal is served for the young boy. His mother asks why he isn't eating his favorite dish. She boasts about buying a new slave cook just for him, but Lin Potian can only stare, his face pale with dread. He admits he hasn't had much of an appetite lately, a nagging feeling that he's forgotten something important. He describes a recurring nightmare of being surrounded by the bodies of his people, a detail that his mother finds absolutely delightful. She even asks who he likes more, her or this dream wife. He can only say he would give everything for the woman in his dreams. A memory flashes of a girl suddenly embracing him. The other children tease him as he blushes furiously. It's Dan Yunduo, his fiancée from a time long since past, but the happy memory twists into a vision of her final moments. He can only watch, a helpless child once more. As the ghost of his lost love appears over the dinner table, begging for help, the nightmare jolts him awake, his eyes wide with terror. Back in the present, a storm rages outside his window. He's burning with a fever, held tight by a frantic Xiaorui, who panics, admitting her skills are in ending lives, not saving them. A memory surfaces of a woman's hungry gaze, of a young demon boy refusing to eat or even watch cartoons. A different child is plagued by terrifying visions. While a woman laments her unrequited love for a man named Tien, elsewhere, a mother brings her ailing child to yet another doctor. But once again, she's told there's nothing they can do. 1 month later, her search leads her to the infamous Black Bog Corner, a place where demon children are sold with a 2-for-1 discount, and every part of their bodies is up for sale to the highest bidder. Her last hope lies within the walls of the Qin Medical Hall. A masked doctor examines the child, his eyes widening with recognition. He concludes the boy was likely a demon in his past life. The young boy asks his mother if past lives are even real. She explains she heard stories from the previous generation of masters, tales of humans who claimed to be reincarnated from another life. Some even retained memories, a concept she once dismissed as fantasy. But after months of searching for a cure with no success, she remembered those old tales, seeing the same symptoms in her son. It's what brought her to this place, seeking a so-called witch doctor. The doctor confirms that ancient texts do, in fact, record such an illness. He explains it's leftover power from a demon's past life, which is being strongly rejected by his current human body. The desperate mother asks what can possibly be done for him, but the doctor's expression offers little hope. He tells her that from a medical standpoint, the boy will be gone within a year. She begs for another option, and he admits there is one outside of medicine. He explains the root of the illness is the lingering will of his past life, a will that is slowly killing him from the inside. The only cure, he says, is to feed the boy demon cores until he becomes one himself, a solution that requires her to embrace the very thing she's been taught to fear. The doctor explains that in ancient times, humans would eat demon cores to gain power. The mother is ecstatic, realizing her status means an endless supply of cores. But she asks for clarification on what it means to demonize. He explains that with each core, her son's body and mind will slowly transform, until one day, he'll become a complete demon, and asks if she can live with that. The reality of his words finally hits her. She glances around at the monstrous specimens in his lab. Her face is a mask of pure, unadulterated horror. She bites her lip, trapped between two impossible choices. She knew in that moment that her life was over. The young Lin Potian knows his mother would never accept this cure. Her past is soaked in the blood of loved ones, all killed by demons. He's sure that even as her son, she has 1,000 reasons to abandon him. After all, demons are now scattered across human lands, treated as nothing more than livestock with no rights, and no one would spend a fortune just to save an animal. He figures she's young and pretty and can always, try again. The doctor seems to agree, telling her to forget his radical idea. He reminds her that if her son becomes a demon, she'll be an outcast, and that she's still weakened from the fight that started all of this. He warns her that without the government's support, her life will be difficult. He even calls his own recommendation foolish. Lin Potian can only listen, his world crumbling. But Xiaorui latches onto the one thing that matters. Her son can be saved. She doesn't care if he becomes a demon. She pulls him close, vowing to raise him no matter what he becomes. A declaration that brings the young boy to tears. But as the doctor writes the prescription, a new problem arises. The secret gets out, becoming a scandalous headline across the nation. A rumor that spreads like wildfire, unable to be contained. The news hits the papers, and the public outcry is immediate. Xiaorui is summoned before the human government, her status as a hero now in question. The problem is, high-quality demon cores are incredibly rare, and the supply from hunting demons just isn't enough to treat his worsening condition. Stripped of her titles and income, Xiaorui begins selling everything she owns for black market cores. Their family situation spirals, leaving them buried in debt. 2 years pass, and while Lin Potian's illness has slightly improved, they've been reduced to rags, struggling to survive the harsh winters. With their home long gone, they wander the snowy wastes with nothing left. The young boy asks his mother why she can't make fire anymore, his voice small in the biting cold. Xiaorui remains silent, her face hidden in shadow. The young Lin Potian immediately regrets his question. He remembers that her poison artifacts work by borrowing from future strength. She'd already sacrificed her future power to defeat him in his past life. And now, she's no stronger than any ordinary human. So they can only walk, hand in hand through the endless winter. He looks in on a warm home, feeling like the world itself is cruel. A world filled with disasters designed to torment all living things. But even simple kindness is in short supply, as a man drives them away with an axe. All the boy can do is watch as his mother shivers in the cold. But Xiaorui just stares into the blizzard, as her son shivers uncontrollably beside her. And then a sudden, almost manic grin spreads across her face. She throws her arms wide, shouting about some kind of robot fusion because of course she does. And then she pulls him into a tight embrace, asking if her warmth is enough to fight the cold. He looks up at her, still believing she can do anything. A woman created to stand against all the world's cruelty. But he can only cry, worried that she'll freeze instead. To him, she's just as powerful as any god. On a cold, snowy night, Xiaorui's voice cuts through the silence, waking her son. She returns with a meager prize, something she hopes will warm him. With a wide, almost manic smile, she presents a single roasted sweet potato. She explains that after begging at countless doors, one person finally took pity on them. But even after days without food, Lin Potian's first thought is for her. She quickly breaks the potato in two, insisting she'll eat as well, a lie every parent has told at least once. He eats the warm food as she watches over him, a rare moment of peace. But their quiet meal is interrupted by a figure approaching through the blizzard. A young demon boy, drawn by the scent of their food, steps into the light. The boy humbly asks if they could spare just a little. Xiaorui looks down, her eyes falling on the horns of a demon child. And with a chilling calm, she agrees, on the condition that he digs out his demon core in exchange. The boy can only laugh, explaining he wishes he had one. If he did, he could sell it to feed himself and his sick sister. His desperate honesty seems to catch her completely off guard. He asks if she's a demon, but she tells him to look for himself, a cruel joke for a boy born blind. He realizes she's human, and immediately begs her not to hurt him as he backs away. She seems surprised that anyone would harm him, agreeing that humans are truly awful. He explains that since he can't see, begging is a matter of luck. A statement that seems to strike a chord with Xiaorui. As Lin Potian eats, she realizes just how hard life is for demons now. The blind boy then picks up a faint scent, asking if she's a demon too. She admits that while she's human, her son is not, and for the first time, she seems to truly see the suffering she's caused. Tears begin to stream down her face, a moment of genuine empathy. Without a word, she breaks her own piece of the sweet potato and offers it to the starving child before her. The boy is overjoyed, thanking her for a chance to see another day. The blind boy wishes her well, believing that good people are always rewarded. His words echo in her mind, a phrase she hasn't heard in years. She looks up into the falling snow, and for the first time, wonders if she could ever be a good person. But her son's condition suddenly takes a turn for the worse. She rushes to a black market dealer, screaming that her money should be enough. She holds Lin Potian, desperate for even a low-grade demon core. But the merchant knows exactly who she is, and decides to jack up the price. He taunts her from his doorway as she begs on the ground, completely broke. She pleads with him, explaining that just 3 more cores could save her son's life. She promises to pay him back, offering anything he wants. An offer that seems to catch the merchant completely off guard. She even tries to leverage her past, for the sake of all the humans she saved. But in the end, she can only prostrate herself and beg. To this day, Lin Potian still doesn't know what she did to convince him. But after that night, his body finally began to recover. Their life was still hard, but they found moments of simple joy. Even sharing a meal of demon meat felt like a feast. She'd find ways to make him happy, like a free swing at the park, proving that even in poverty, some things never change. A parenting style that was uniquely her own. But as Lin Potian needed fewer demon cores, their finances slowly began to recover.
Xiaorui even started taking on odd jobs, hoping to rent a new lab.
But the guilt of her sacrifice still weighed heavily on the boy. He breaks down and she panics, unsure how to handle actual emotions. One day, she brings home a special cracked demon core. Lin Potian can only stare at the familiar pulsating energy. His mother looks on with a strange, knowing smile and asks if this is the core from his past life. She confirms his suspicions, admitting she killed him in his past life. And when his demon cores scattered, she managed to hide one away. She believes that if he absorbs it, his illness will finally be cured. With a gentle smile, she offers him the key to his own past. Lin Potian hesitates, the weight of this decision heavy on his mind. But he reaches out, ready to reclaim what was lost. Just as he takes it, a breaking news report interrupts the moment. A reporter announces that Sky Spike City, the last demon holdout, has finally fallen to the forces of humanity. Now, their airships can finally reach the Heavenly Dragon continent. A woman's voice rings out across the human territories, declaring their chance to finally crush the demon's last refuge. And with that, the final war begins. Human soldiers descend from the sky, their artifacts tearing through the demon defenses. Some even ride bombs directly into the fray, because why not? A massive fleet of airships darkens the sky as their forces prepare for a full-scale boarding action. Their target, the Heavenly Dragon Guard itself, the last bastion of the demon race, is now under siege. A demon official, Raccoon Lee, screams in frustration. He laments that in all their lands, no one has come close to Lin Podian's power. As reports flood in of humans breaching their defenses, the Demon Supreme Council can only panic, worried about their own interests. One of the Council Kings demands to know who betrayed Lin Podian. He insists it had to be an inside job, as only they knew his location. The fourth Council King recalls a promise Lin Podian once made, a memory of him boasting about his talented kin who could one day match his strength. Another king claims no one knew the humans would wipe out his entire clan. But the accusations fly, pointing out who benefited most from his death. The Tiger King roars, cursing Lin Podian for dying at such an inconvenient time. The third Council King agrees, suggesting they just borrow him from the underworld for a bit. He demands they send an elite squad to retrieve the scattered demon cores. But the sixth king reminds him the humans know their value all too well. The cores were either lost or snatched up by the 12 Calamity Stars. He concludes that retrieving even one is harder than fighting the army at their gates. A young princess appears via hologram, asking if they have a plan yet. With the council at a loss, she reveals she met someone who might break the siege. But the Tiger King scoffs, reminding her that her family's power is gone. He accuses her of using the crisis to regain influence for her own faction. He screams that only Lin Podian could save them in a crisis like this. But the princess calmly confirms that her candidate is indeed connected to him. The council is stunned, wondering if a distant relative somehow survived. His disciple Muko is suggested, but protocol forbids their meeting. Just then, a heavy door swings open with a resounding crash. The entire council turns, their faces a mix of shock and confusion. A lone figure stands silhouetted in the doorway, bathed in light. One of the kings recognizes the newcomer from a past celebration. The guest stands before the council, the princess observing from her seat. A memory of two young demons offering New Year's greetings to the lords. The council is stunned to see Lin Podian's fiancé, Dan Yunduo. One of the kings demands to know if this is the princess's brilliant plan. He scoffs that her connection to Lin Podian means nothing in a fight. She retorts with a sharp comeback, shutting down his line of questioning. But another king sees her as a valuable trophy, a prize to be won. His excitement grows as he suggests a truly despicable plan. A plan to trade her to the humans in exchange for their own lives. Dan Yunduo listens to their pathetic plotting, completely unfazed. A red thread of energy begins to glow around her hand. It seems she's more than ready to teach them some manners. The red thread whips out from her hand, snaking through the entire compound in an instant. It slices through stone and steel with ease, carving a path of destruction through the invading forces. The human soldiers are thrown back by the sudden, overwhelming power. A web of deadly energy tears through their ranks. With the chaos settled, she asks if they're ready to talk business now. The council members can only stare, their arrogance completely gone. She reveals that before he died, Lin Podian left her one of his demon cores, a revelation that leaves the entire council speechless. The princess recalls his polite but firm rejection, a memory of the crowd whispering about his loyalty to his fiancé. She remembers the woman who had won his heart, the one who could always stand by Lord Lin's side, Dan Yunduo, a woman who had been the target of her childhood envy. And now, that same woman had appeared before her with a plan. The very next morning, after Lin Podian's ambush, rescuers found Dan Yunduo among the fallen, barely alive. Her family, it seemed, had a surprisingly high survival rate, and rumors spread that one of his cores had fallen nearby. She was found clutching a simple, treasured gift. The core he'd given her had apparently shielded her from the worst of the blast, and so she became one of the few who refused to believe he was truly gone. Alone in the ruins, she could only call out his name. She'd scoured ancient texts, finding a precedent for his escape technique. But her family tried to stop her, so she begged them to let her search, vowing to find him, even if all that remained was a body. The princess explains she vanished for 4 years, deep within human territory. Using their own networks to hunt for any trace of the man she loved, it said his cores were drawn to the people and places he cared for most. The princess recalls that the stronger a demon core is, the harder it is to refine. And for a normal person, the attempt would be a death sentence. She remembers Dan Yunduo as a simple civilian, happy at Lin Podian's side. But the woman who stands before them now is anything but ordinary, a fact the young princess is only just beginning to understand. Dan Yunduo explains that before he left, Lin Podian entrusted a core to her, a revelation that sends a shockwave through the entire council. The kings quickly changed their tune, inviting her in and preparing a test. The news spreads, drawing a massive crowd for the Council Kings Conference. As the entire demon leadership watches on, ready to witness the impossible, The crowd is stunned to see the council meeting being broadcast live, their faces reflected in an artifact held for all to see. Dan Yunduo explains the public display is necessary for her plan. She apologizes for her disguise, a need for secrecy from human eyes. The Council Kings demand she get to the point and reveal her strategy. Her plan is simple: crash the Heavenly Dragon continent into the human capital, a move that would shatter the continental plate itself. The result would be mutual annihilation, wiping out both races. The demon civilians can only stare in utter disbelief. As the crowd erupts, realizing the woman is completely insane, the crowd erupts in fury, angry at the broadcast's insane proposal. But the council members begin to whisper amongst themselves. One of the kings calmly lights a cigarette for another, while the others argue, unable to believe what they've just heard. One of them slams his fist down, shouting that it's utter nonsense. The chicken-headed king rises, calling her completely out of her mind. But the purple-haired king stops him, calling it a good proposal. He sees her true intent, to threaten mutual destruction to force a retreat. She admits they're all terrible, but at least they're not stupid. The crowd below is stunned, realizing peace might actually be an option. The purple-haired king points out a major flaw in her plan. The Heavenly Dragon Guard has never listened to them before, but Dan Yunduo calmly states that's why she's here. She explains the creature was born from Lin Podian's demon core, and while she possesses it, she can only control 30% of its power. The crowd, however, recognizes this for the humble brag it is, but 30% isn't enough to command the beast, so she needs every warrior, officer, and citizen to lend her their strength. With their combined might, she can finally take control. An attack that would wipe out most of the human population, forcing them to the negotiating table. She tells the council to leave control of the Heavenly Dragon Guard to her. Their only job is to steel their resolve for the battle ahead. But the crowd protests, accusing her of gambling with the fate of their race. She calmly admits that she is, with only a 70% chance of success. She lays out their two options: her risky plan or certain destruction at the hands of the humans. The brutal honesty of her ultimatum leaves the crowd completely stunned. But her words ignite a fire, as one voice cries out to go all out against the humans. The sentiment spreads, a realization that they're doomed either way. Better to drag their enemies down with them than to be bullied any longer. And with that, even the wounded soldiers pledge their lives to her cause. The cry goes out across the land, a promise to lend their power. Even the master of ceremonies is swept up in the fervor, before being told to sit down. The purple-haired king admits the plan has merit, a boldness not seen since Lin Podian's time. He calmly tells the official to begin the vote. The master of ceremonies calls the council to order, ready to decide their fate. The purple-haired king raises his hand, casting the first vote in favor. The citizens below can only watch, their future hanging in the balance. The official counts the votes, his face frozen in disbelief at the tally. He announces that the current bill does not pass. Dan Yunduo is left completely stunned by their decision. The official confirms the tally, a near-unanimous rejection of her plan. The crowd below erupts, unable to comprehend the council's choice. Dan Yunduo demands an explanation, her logic seemingly flawless. The purple-haired king calmly praises her for finding a brilliant solution, but then asks what the fate of their race has to do with the council. He explains the nobles can simply pay for amnesty from the humans, while the common folk, he sneers, are completely disposable. Their poverty means they're stuck with a label the rich can shed. The crowd watches in horror, realizing their leaders have abandoned them. The king calmly explains that the rich will always choose themselves. He asks why the elites would risk a 30% chance of dying with the common folk. The other nobles agree, calling the risk far too high for their tastes. The purple-haired king calmly states that their own death rate will always be 0. He scoffs at her ambition, saying she's trying to steer the world with ideals. The other council members complain that after Lin Podian, they have another lunatic to deal with. Dan Yunduo can only glare, realizing she's not just fighting humans, but a system that despises hot-blooded passion. He calls her just as stupid as her husband, whose fate was sealed the moment he grew strong. And then comes the final, devastating truth. It was the entire demon noble class who killed him. He claims that even if the council hadn't acted, the other nobles would have. The purple-haired king offers some condescending advice to the pitiful widow, telling her to use her head before speaking in this room, a place he claims is far more terrifying than the human army. He tells the council to accept reality and prepare to pay the humans off. And with that, the meeting is adjourned, the broadcast cut short. The crowd is left to process the horrifying truth. Their leaders sold them out. But they don't have much time, as a sudden explosion rocks the city. The outer wall is completely shattered by the blast. The citizens can only scream and run as the invasion begins. And a tide of human soldiers floods into their last sanctuary. The human soldiers cut down the first wave of civilians. The slaughter continues in the streets below. As the city burns, their desperate cries go unanswered. But back in the council chamber, Dan Yunduo isn't finished. She announces that the meeting isn't over yet, because she has one more proposal for them to consider. The council members can only stare, completely bewildered. They demand she get on with it, warning her not to waste their time. She admits this wasn't her preferred path, as one of them urges her to write the surrender terms. Her first condition, the government must pardon her for murder. The purple-haired king scoffs at her request, as she lays out her second condition, full cooperation. The council erupts, realizing it's the same plan they just rejected. Her third condition, half of their assets will be seized for reconstruction. One of the kings finally snaps, his patience completely gone. The others join in, screaming that she's wasting their time. She finishes her proposal as her own guards surround the table, and with that she calls for a new vote. Her gaze is fixed, her will unbending. A silent challenge to the men who betrayed her people, she declares that there are no objections, and orders the terrified official to announce the results. The final tally is read aloud, her eyes narrowing as the vote concludes, and with that, the bill is unanimously approved. But the purple-haired king is still standing. Somehow, Dan Yunduo notes his impressive power and reminds him of his own words about this room being the real threat. She grabs his face, telling him the humans won't be the ones to end him, as the once arrogant king can only beg for his life. With a chilling resolve, she agrees to his terms. Her grip tightens around his throat with a sickening crack. The king screams her name, his noble pride turning to pure rage. She calmly warns him that his death will make her an enemy of the state. He lists all the ways the system will crush her for this defiance, but his threats are cut short by a scream of pure agony. His arrogance finally shatters, replaced by desperate, pathetic pleas. Dan Yunduo listens to his groveling, her expression unreadable. He even offers her a spot as his sixth concubine. How romantic. But she only speaks of Lin Potian, certain he'll return in the next life. She holds his broken face, telling him never to call her a widow. And with a final brutal strike, she ends the conversation. She stands over the fallen council, certain that Lin Potian is not truly gone, and vows to hand the demon race back to him, whole and intact upon his return. With her new authority, she calls out to the heavenly dragon guard, and the great beast answers, its eyes filled with a familiar sorrow. After this, the council officially added a no-killing amendment to their meetings. The demons used the threat of mutual destruction to negotiate, but the humans assumed they were bluffing, an assumption that changed the moment the dragon's tail grazed their capital. And so for a time, a fragile peace settled over the land. But the past is a waking nightmare for the young Lin Potian. A montage of memories shows their difficult journey through the years, until one day she opens a box revealing a familiar cracked demon core. He can only stare, recognizing the pulsating energy within. His mother looks on with a strange, knowing smile. She asks him if he recognizes the core of Lin Potian. She confirms his suspicions, reminding him she was the one who ended his past life, and when his demon cores scattered across the world, she managed to hide one away for research purposes. She explains its power was too great for his younger body to handle. She explains that after years of treatment, his body is finally strong enough. And with this final core, his illness should be cured for good. But after absorbing it, Lin Potian feels absolutely nothing. He wonders if all those fevers fried his brain, a theory his mother finds horrifying. She realizes he must have stored his memories in a different core. The kid complains that she could have just sold it, but she reminds him who would dare buy it. With the experiment a bust, she tells him she has work to do, leaving him some soup. She warns him to get some rest, as the core will still drain his strength. The door closes, leaving the young boy alone in the quiet room. He can only sit and stare, the key to his past now just another mystery. He writes in his journal, noting the date he absorbed his own core. He walks through the quiet house, soup in hand. But the core's power unlocks a flood of fragmented memories. Images of love, betrayal, and his own death flash before his eyes. The weight of his past life crashes down on him all at once, and the backlash is immediate, a violent rejection from his body. He doubles over, the pain echoing through the empty room. Even as his body fails, he tries to document what's happening. He collapses to the floor, realizing the core is being rejected. But even through the agony, a familiar fire burns in his eyes. His body finally gives out and he collapses to the floor. Xiaorui returns to find him, her voice filled with panic. She can't understand why the illness has returned. Her gaze then falls upon the blood-stained journal on his desk, a silent clue to the agony he just endured. She reaches out and picks up the small book. As she opens it, her expression turns to one of dawning horror. She reads his last entry, a simple wish to grow strong enough to protect her. A torn page with their names, a symbol of their fractured life. The next day he sleeps soundly, but Xiaorui lies awake, haunted by what she's learned. But sleep offers no peace for the young Lin Potian. He waits for the dead of night, making sure his mother is truly asleep. His body has healed, but he knows he must keep his emotions in check. Because tonight he intends to finally claim his revenge. He knows she sleeps with her eyes open, a habit from years of paranoia. He's too weak for a direct fight, so a sneak attack is his only option. With a silent scream, he pulls the rope with all his might. But something stops him, an unseen force pushing back. A protective charm on her chest begins to glow with a brilliant light. an artifact that negates any attack, even when she's unconscious. He realizes that with tensions rising between humans and demons, it's only natural for her to be so cautious. Defeated, he knows he'll have to wait for another chance. And so they lie together in the quiet darkness. Linpodian pretends to sleep, his plan a total failure, but he can feel his mother's eyes on him, wide awake. She lies there in silence, tears streaming down her face. The next day, news of another war spreads through the streets. But life goes on, the city bustling with activity, as people argue over who gets the last of the demon meat. At a local restaurant, a man pours a generous amount of sauce over his meal. He eats with gusto, as others joke about his impressive tolerance for spice. The hot pot bubbles away, a perfect split between mild and fiery. But for the young Linpotian, the choice is always simple. His mother, however, prefers the spicier side of life. She teases him, calling him by his new name, Ah Tien, explaining to others that he's always had a taste for chili. The restaurant owner greets them warmly, offering a generous promotion. But Sharui has some unexpected news for the friendly woman. She tells her they're leaving, a sudden decision that surprises everyone. Linpodian explains there are many reasons for their sudden departure, but the most important one is that their province is preparing for war. The owner is shocked, reminding them of the peace treaty with the demons. But the leader of Light Province, Qinming of the 12 Calamity Stars, has been building his army. A new spirit ore vein has boosted their power, and the Heavenly Dragon continent is on a collision course. Shuri advises the owner to get out while she still can. But the woman isn't worried, having heard these same rumors for years. She can't just uproot her life every time, but Shirui admits it's just a gut feeling. The owner offers her a membership card, confused why she'd want one if she's leaving. Xiaorui just smiles, remembering their first visit for Atian's birthday. She explains the owner was the only one who didn't judge their ragged clothes. She even noticed the smaller portions, but never complained. With her memory fading, the card is a way to remember that kindness. She then playfully threatens to report her, a truly foolproof persuasion tactic. The owner heads back to work, leaving them to their meal. Linpodian knows his mother's mind is unstable, but her instincts for war are still sharp. He wonders if he should praise her for being worthy of killing him. He knows he must hurry back to demon territory to protect his people. But as they sit in the bustling restaurant, he knows there's one thing he must do first. He has to kill his mother before he can leave. Linpotian tells his mother he thinks he's old enough now. Old enough for her to teach him how to use magic artifacts. And more importantly, how to break them. Shirui falls silent, her back turned to him. She considers his words, her expression unreadable. A long moment passes between them. The tension at the dinner table is palpable. As the two sit across from each other, a silent understanding forms. She finally agrees with a knowing smile, promising to begin his training tomorrow. And with that, they arrive in Light Province, the heart of the coming war. A glowing mirror reflects an unknown light, while a chain of energy is held tight in his grasp. This is one of humanity's most powerful figures. Inside the Light Prism Palace, he holds court. This is Qinming, one of the 12 Calamity Stars, asking for a status update. A general reports that their power has grown thanks to new spirit ore. He recalls the red-clothed woman who once united the demons. But Light Province's first general, Juke, explains her influence has faded. He claims the demons have grown complacent with peace. Their military has weakened, and their experts agree on one thing, that the demon race's combat strength is at its weakest in 5 years. But one of the generals, the third general, White Tiger, suggests they wait even longer. A suggestion that Qinming's son finds questionable. This is Qin Erbao, who points out that humans have also grown soft from peace. The memory of their near destruction is fading from the public mind. He reveals that even here, the desire for war has dropped significantly. Another advisor agrees, saying their small circle isn't enough to start a war. Qin Erbao insists they must unite all the human provinces, just as they did to bring down Linpotian all those years ago. He argues that peace has made them complacent, and that the people need a fire to reignite their hatred, a fire that Qinming himself is more than willing to light. He orders his general, Juke, to handle the military preparations, while he personally takes on the task of uniting humanity. The scene then cuts to a terrified young demon girl, who is being cruelly tormented by an unseen figure. She screams in agony, forced to endure an unspeakable ordeal, as Qinming unleashes a devastating attack upon her. His general then turns to address a woman known as the Mother Queen. As his subordinates listen with grim expressions, the Mother Queen holds a glowing mirror over a fallen demon. She stands before a memorial for someone named Qin Bao Bao, and speaks of her eldest son, her most treasured child. She explains that 5 years ago he was killed by demon slaves for harming one of their own. Her quest for extermination isn't just about the war between their races. It's also a mother's revenge for her murdered son. Juke adds that the human emperor chose peace, not even allowing a proper funeral. The Mother Queen can only cry out, her grief still raw. Juke reveals that every day since, Qinming has crowned a new demon queen as a grim tribute. He explains that the title of queen is a high honor, a grim tally that now stands at 1,800. But for the grieving mother, it's still not enough. She declares that in 1 month's time, She will wipe out the entire Heavenly Dragon continent. Back at the restaurant, Lin Potian makes his request. He wants to know how to break the artifacts. Sherui falls silent, her back turned to him. And with a knowing smile, she agrees to his terms. And so, his training begins with a single command. His first lesson involves a simple wooden box. He wonders if he inherited her genius, or if the principles are just the same. His first test subject is a very confused hamster, who promptly passes out from the effort. Poor guy never saw it coming, but Lin Potian is thrilled that it actually worked. He then tries to reverse the effect, and the hamster jolts back to life. He quickly mastered the basics of controlling and breaking artifacts, and that night he puts his new skills to the test. The protective charm on her chest begins to weaken under his touch. He knows her defenses are her weakness, and with 2 more weeks he'll be ready. But she's been awake the whole time with a simple thought, then you're dead.